Uh-huh. That's right. Part of three. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Walk with me. Come go with me. Yeah. It's Lil Weezy, baby. And I'm just lighting up my. Yeah. 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 1-7. Cash money, young money. Born in New Orleans.
Beijing Olympics training in locks right now. Mountain Vibes team rider and all around badass Lucas Foster is here. Lucas, how are we doing, bud?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, dude, I'm doing good. I'm stoked to have you on the interview, and it's going well. And we talked to you back in 2021 before the Olympics, and just kind of went over some stuff. But I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit more about some of the early days, growing up in Telluride. You and your homies started, a little like shred crew back in the day, and you called it We Shred Productions. Like, who was like behind that idea, and that was that you, or like what friends was that when you were growing up?
Yeah, no, man, I think back then we were like my little crew and it was a mix of like a couple skiers, even snow. I was gonna say even skiers, obviously snowboarders, all different ages, and like we just were all so hyped on just doing whatever we could in Telluride. So we were always filming and throwing GoPros around with each other, and like everyone had their own YouTube channel. Like we never had a goal in mind. We were just like putting edits out. And I think we probably had like 500 different like productions or like crews, being like 10, 11 years old. We were definitely like all over the place, but it was super fun. I mean, looking back, I'm like those are the days where we could just get up at 8 a.m. and have energy to ride all day till the absolute end of the day when the sun goes down, and go home and put it all on iMovie and put out an edit that weekend. And like
Back in the
it was a
days
cool
when
time.
it was just so chill to go up, with the homies, and you had your core group of friends and everything. And I mean, it's the spirit of that still lives on to this day,
Yeah,
with you being a professional rider and stuff. I can see the pure joy that you have out there when you're out riding and stuff. So
yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, no, I think back then YouTube was like the main. YouTube was like Instagram, so
yeah,
um it was like pretty common to have like a montage dropping every single weekend,
that's sick,
um
dude. That's
which
something that I've been trying to get into as well. So I can appreciate, putting that stuff together. It's not easy, but it
yeah,
is fun to go out there and rock your GoPro with your friends and everything.
yeah, totally. That was
Definitely,
super
dude.
fun.
So well, there is a couple, was that when you were doing those videos back in the day, was it just like everybody just kind of grabbing the GoPro, and who was like throwing the edits together? Was it kind of like you guys take turns and stuff like that, or was it primarily one homie?
Yeah, kind of mix of everybody. Like I think we would just like everyone had a camera, but I'd say there was like two people that really had like the two main cameras we'd use, and that was me, and then our friend Cedar Palmer, who Cedar's
Okay.
one of the skiers that we did all that stuff with. And Cedar now he's like totally crushing at filming. That's like his main thing that he's doing now. And I still film with him a lot these days, actually.
Okay.
But it was kind of us two, and we would like, yeah, we'd go out and ride park, and kind of the classic like, oh, follow Cam this feature, and then I'll post up on this one, and then so and so will do a trick here. So it's like every lap we were just like trying to just stack clips, and then editing was, yeah, usually me and Cedar. Like we would honestly, we wouldn't really do it together. Like he would have his edit, I'd have mine, and and it was like kind of a fun rivalry, not a rivalry, but like we were both competitive because like both of us are like in our nature competitive. But I remember back then, like us two would kind of try to like outshine each other with the YouTube edits. That
That's
was
sick,
really
dude.
funny.
now you get to chill with each other, and he's still filming you. So that's to this day. That's sick. Oh, you
Yeah,
love to hear
and
that.
we still kind of have that dynamic. I mean, obviously now it's a lot more mature where we're not like little kids like fighting over it, but even now I'm still like, oh, like you should film it on this angle or whatever.
Yeah.
I've
Well, it's
always
like,
kind of been
yeah,
like that. I'm picky about how I want. Like I always have a vision of how I want like a trick to look or how I want a clip to look. So, but it's fun. Like I think that's how you kind of work best is like collaborating truly. So,
right. Yeah, it's like that relationship between the writer and the filmer. You see it. You know, there's so many of them. You have like Russell 669 with Red, and like, and then he's like taking it to the next level, and he's out there doing all these kinds of things. Same with Gimbal God. When he
yeah.
got his big opportunity with Stale and did the still lifes, like that just like shot, and like all his new stuff is super super sick, and it's just so cool to see like the evolution of how the videos have been stacking up, and like the production quality is like starting to come back. Like I don't know, I just am a kind of a fan of like this time of snowboarding, and like riders can feature themselves and collaborate with others, just
Yeah,
like you said, and it's just it's great to see. One
totally.
thing, when you guys were filming, who filmed the tombstone drop at the skate park?
Oh, I don't even know.
I saw that one. I was like,
Probably,
it's huge.
yeah. Probably one of the skater kids just that we grew up with. Like, there's like a three or four of us that were like kind of the like tight knit crew. That was this kid Eric Cummings, London Albrecht, who's one of my like main shred homies too that I grew up riding with, still do to this day, and
Yeah,
Logan Petrie. So probably one of those three.
yeah,
But yeah, the
awesome,
Tombstone back then. Tombstone was a big
dude.
deal back then.
Yeah, and that's at the Telluride skate park.
Yep.
Man, I mean, I know I have a couple homies. I'm a snowboard instructor, is what I do up at the mountain when I'm not, doing this for mountain vibes and obviously all that. But
Yeah.
I have two friends that worked at Telluride actually for, gosh, a while. I think at least 5 years as instructors up there, and they always just rave about like how awesome it is there, and like
Yeah.
like your experience growing up as a kid there. Like kind of what was that like? Was it just strictly like I know you were kind of a weekend warrior, you said for a while, and you would skate a lot, and you went to public school, and then you kind of when you got serious and everything, you kind of did the homeschool, online school stuff. But were there any other things that like what was Lucas Foster like as a young kid and tell you were you like just causing mischief and or were you like outdoorsy going camping and stuff like that? Like what other things were you into?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty like, I mean, my mom and dad are very, like they've been in Telluride for a long time. So like very normal, like mountain kid activities, since I was born. So camping, hiking, biking, bit of everything. And I enjoyed all of it, but I think skateboarding and snowboarding really stuck with me just because I was the smallest kid in class and like definitely a little bit I never really found like my groove in elementary school and like
Yeah,
I was never good at like team sports or anything. So I remember like, when I was really young, just being kind of like insecure and like not really like didn't know exactly like who I was, which is normal for a 5-year old.
yeah,
But that's kind of what I was like. Like once I found skating and snowboarding, I really was like full tunnel vision on skateboarding and snowboarding. Like
that's awesome. Yeah.
aged 10 to like 17, 18, I did not care to do anything but skate or snowboard. I mean, I don't think I really like cared to go on a hike until like 2 years ago maybe. No, like I
Oh,
always
okay.
was down with it, but like I've like
It
refound that
wasn't like something
passion.
you sought out. And that, yeah, I
No,
can respect that, dude.
not really, but like when I was maybe age like 10 to 16, it was like skateboarding, but I was also very like I've always been like a pretty caring kid. Like I was always doing what I could to help out the other kids in the skate community or the snowboard community. I was, that's like a big reason why I was so hyped on like filming and making videos because like I saw what it did for me putting out season edits and getting recognized by local reps for companies, and then I'd like want to help out the next kid and be like, I remember like talking to parents being like, your kid's really good, like can he come ride with us, and like I'll make him
Yeah.
videos, and that actually worked for like a handful of my friends. So that's kind of what I was like, but I was like just a skate rat and a snowboard rat.
Dude. Yeah.
Like any like what, if school got out an hour early, I was on the mountain. Like any chance I could get to do any of it, I was there.
Night boarding. I don't know if they
Yeah,
have. Do they have? Yeah.
they did for one season.
Okay.
And I remember my mom coached gymnastics in Telluride for a long time, and they had like a tumbling class, which was fun at the time. And I was like maybe 10 years old, and they had night riding one year, and I remember the little snowboard club was doing night riding like one day a week out of the winter, and that was the day of the week of tumbling. And I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'm like not down at all to keep doing that. I'm
No.
doing the night riding. So that's kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how, I mean, that was one of the most popular things in my local hill too, in Mount Ashland. I grew up in Southern Oregon, and we just had a tiny hill up there, but the night riding was just
Yeah.
so sick, even if it was one of those nights where it was like straight ice. But that's
Yeah,
how that's how you get better, right? And
totally.
get good edge control on your board. But
Yeah.
yeah, dude, like and segueing into that, like, I've watched a lot of the videos that you've done, and of course, I watch all the competitions, so I see you in the pipe, and what I notice about like your writing is like how dynamic you are. Like you get like so low to the ground, and you like extend and compress like just like crazy. Like I've never seen, a writer kind of do that. I mean, the Japanese writers are like crazy at doing stuff like that in the pipe, but as far as like that, I was like, where did you do much like lessons or anything like that back in the day, or were you just basically
No,
self-taught and just sending right away?
no, yeah, like my dad taught me how to snowboard, so but his way of teaching me was just me following him. Obviously, I learned how to like get down the hill and like make turns, but I never learned the fundamentals of snowboarding really at
Yeah.
all, which was a great thing and also a terrible thing because I now to this day have to like kind of backpedal and work on some small things. But that approach of like kind of just, it was very similar to skateboarding, where it's just kind of like go to the skate park and figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, my dad's a great snowboarder, so like I was able to like I learned safely. It's not like I was just like put at the top and go, but that was kind of always my style, was like low and aggressive, and yeah, like free riding is really where I learned how to ride. I never really like grew up riding park up until I was like 9 or 10. I would always go through the park,
Yeah.
but my dad's thing is like he free rides and rides steep terrain, and like
Yeah.
that's what we did. And
And and you have to stay low to be able to manage that terrain, or else you're done. So respect to Pops
yeah,
for teaching you how to
yeah,
snowboard, dude.
yeah, for sure. And like there's definitely some things that like I probably should have learned that I didn't learn at a young age, but it's not a big deal. And like definitely a lot of the riders I looked up to rode a lot lower too. Like Louis Vito was like my hero growing up. So
Dude, yeah.
Louis still rides like that, like pretty low. And I mean, we're built kind of the same. Our bodies are like almost identical with like weight, height, like torso, everything. So I think it's like
Is it
a mix of that and my body type that kind of makes me ride like that.
Do you get to, you know, ride with him a lot and get to see him at the competitions? Is that just crazy to you that you're out there like riding with him and competing against him now? Because I mean, he's a G. He's one of the OGs for sure, and he's still
Yeah,
killing it.
totally.
He just
Yeah, no,
takes
Louis is the
such good
man.
care of himself. Yeah,
Yeah, he's like the one of the two pro snowboarders that I like saw on TV and thought was like, okay, that guy's the coolest. And then you meet him in person and you're like, okay, you're just as cool. And like awesome because there's a time where like you meet a pro snowboarder that you grew up watching and you maybe are let down
Yeah,
meeting them in person because they're maybe not like the superhero that you thought they were. A
no
lot of the
doubt.
time, because they're not. A lot of the time, they're just not that nice. So then you're like, oh, bummer. But Louis is like the nicest dude ever, and also like just he's like he walks into a room and everyone knows that like okay, this energy is great. So
Right?
Louis,
Yeah, that's just so sick. I mean, you see him all around, like, and it's so cool you have that experience. I have the same kind of experience. I was up at Hood riding the mile chair during Holy Bowly, and I was looking out for Stale, who's been my favorite rider ever since he got second at Sochi, and I've
Mhm.
just been like obsessed with him. And I finally got to meet him and rode the mile chair up with him, and he was the chillest dude. He was so awesome,
Yeah,
so humble, just like wanted to have a good conversation, talk about snowboarding, and because it was really his first time like being at Hood, and because those Norwegian riders, they have the glaciers up in Norway, so he was like, what's this place like in the winter? Like asking all these questions. So super humbling, dude.
yeah,
That's awesome. That's
totally.
awesome, dude. So you're in locks right now, obviously. And are you gearing? Is locks open coming up soon for you, or
Yeah, yeah. Next week.
okay? Dude, that place is so sick. I was watching a documentary about that place and how they're just all about renewable energy and crazy stuff like
Yeah.
that. Do you like see that walking around and feel it out there? Like, is it pretty just like I know it's one of the meccas, but is it as sick as everybody says it is?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the only downside of it is how expensive it is in Switzerland.
Yeah,
Other than that, like, I mean, honestly, it's not that bad compared to the States too. The States is insane, but yeah, like the park is insane. The whole scene is really cool. Like the commute up to the mountain is easy.
yeah,
And it's just like you could tell it's like, all just for I mean, I think it's really snowboard oriented. Like this mountain,
yeah.
I think is favored like snowboarders are favored here. So that's really cool. And, it's pretty affordable overall. Like I think day tickets are probably like 60 or $70, which is like maybe a little more, but compared to the US, it's way better. And it's honestly like
Okay.
the sickest free, super good free riding. And
How it
yeah,
feels when you get snow and
yeah, totally. So they do it right here. Like I try to come here as much as I can.
that's awesome, dude. And so you getting coach is JJ your main coach overall right now, and you working with him and like out there with Toby Miller and stuff like that
Actually,
too.
not not anymore actually. So JJ is no longer with the US team. So
Oh, okay.
Um, as of last winter, he's no longer the head coach. So now Danny Cass is the head coach, which is like from
Oh,
one legend to another.
oh,
So
dude.
and Toby is injured still, so I haven't seen Toby in a
Okay.
minute. But no, I miss JJ for sure. JJ and I we had a great run together, and he was a great coach, still is.
Yeah. I mean,
But I've
yeah,
been
he's
working with Danny, and Danny's great. I mean, Danny is the other like superhero pro that I met in person. I'm like, okay, you're like just as awesome as I thought you were on TV. So
and
to
did
be
you meet
getting
when was the first did you meet him at Hood for the first time when you guys did that video together? I think it was what was that called? Uh,
yeah, the chain of command video
the
for
chain of command,
Monster.
that's right.
No, I knew him before that. Like I met Danny, when I was super little at nationals, but he does not remember that. But I mean, I rode his pro model snowboard for the first 3 years of snowboarding. Met him in person then, and then he started coaching kind of randomly like 4 years ago, and that's when I met him. And like we knew each other, we were cool. Like uh, you know, for like 2 years, just kind of like because he was coaching other people, so it's just kind of like say
Yeah,
what up at the pipe. But then like I think the season before the Olympics, he really like started to get stoked on my riding, and I remember every day he would just be like hyped to watch me, and then our relationship was pretty organic though. Like I
that's
think
awesome.
I definitely like vouched for him to be our coach or be one of the coaches of the US team.
Oh, for sure, dude.
Um, so
Legend.
I'm hyped that he's around. Like he's more of like a homie. At the end of the day, he's like one of like just my good friends, which is cool to say. But he's also our
That's
coach, so you
that's
know.
sick, dude. That's awesome. That's awesome. And so, gearing up for Milano in 2026, right?
Yeah.
And then, segueing off that, we didn't talk to you since you've been back from the Beijing Olympics, and obviously that is like a whole experience in itself. It's probably pretty crazy. You travel the world, but I don't know if you had ever been to China before. What was it like going over there?
Yeah, no, that was the first time to China. It was really cool, but it was, I didn't really get to experience China at all. Like the with COVID going on, it was extremely just contained everything
Yeah,
with the Olympics. Like it was crazy, man. Like flying in, you were like immediately going into all these COVID tests, and then like the transportation from the airport to the mountain was like so like like I said, contained. Like you had a bus with like escorts, and it was nuts just because they didn't want anyone from the public
yeah,
coming close to any athletes. Um, so yeah, it was really cool, but it was like kind of one of those trips that like you look back on and you're like, it didn't even feel real. It just felt like
right.
a blur, but it was obviously a great experience. Like, uh, I'm excited to go back. Hopefully, obviously you got to qualify, but I'm
Of
excited
course.
to make it back. Hopefully in 2026, just to like get to take it all in a little more. Because in Beijing, it was just like get there and you're like kind of in this crazy state of like, holy crap, like at the Olympics, and
Yeah,
you never really
and that
get to like process anything until months after. So
and was it kind of a long trip between venues? I heard like some of that, like it was pretty far to get out to the actual like half pipe.
some of them, so like Beijing was pretty far. It was like 3 hours to the pipe, but they had a whole athlete village like right there at the pipe, and that only
Oh,
took
that's
like
good.
5 minutes to get there. So, but we went back to China to where the Olympics were in December this year, and the first World Cup of the year was there, and that was a really good event. Like probably one of the best half pipe comps in a long time. Just with like
Yeah.
the conditions are really good, and it was really fun. So
And were the conditions different between like this last event and the Olympics? Like did it feel
big
had
time.
it snow was it just the snow making was better or had it snowed there?
It was a lot warmer this time in December, so
Okay.
that made the snow a little better. It was freezing cold during the Olympics, like crazy
Yeah.
cold. So the snow was super
Uh,
grippy and chalky. So this last time was just yeah, like it's like 30 degrees, sunny every day, very little wind. But we got pretty lucky for the Olympics. I think we had it on a pretty good week. But
that's
then I
good.
remember the next week for the skiers, it was terrible. So you never really
Yeah.
know what you're gonna get out there.
Yeah, you never know. Then that's just the way of the mountains. Like can't
Yeah,
predict anything up there. It's a harsh environment, but yeah,
exactly.
dude. Well, yeah, that's sick. And you're gearing up for 2026, and that's awesome. So how is that going right now? I know that there's like a whole hierarchy to the point system and stuff, and U.S. Open Cups and FIS, and but is
Yeah.
because locks kind of kicks the season off, right? And then it's kind of like busy after that because you're gonna be going everywhere.
Yeah, I mean it's our third event of the year, so it's kind of like, but this one's really like the Super Bowl just because the pipe
Yeah,
is so perfect. So this one's like where you're gonna see the best riding go down. Um, and really like your best comes out at this event. So you really want to do well here, and the crowd is insane. So you
yeah,
really want to
and
like you really
it's a whole
you
vibe.
really yeah, it's the like one event that still feels like you're at like a crazy big sporting event. So
Yeah.
all the other ones are a lot more like, China, for example, like in the middle of nowhere, you like kind of not, it doesn't really have that like X Games type vibe.
Yeah,
Um, but like with the Olympics, I think luckily for the US, like and luckily in general, you have like 4 years between. So like you're thinking about the Olympics right now, but not like I think next year it becomes a lot more real where you're like really like clicking into gear. So like
Yeah.
qualifying right now isn't a thing. Like we don't qualify till the season of the Olympics for the US,
Okay.
but you know it's definitely changing a lot. Like I think this last Olympic cycle for the US was like it's always been extremely cutthroat to make the Olympic team for the
Yeah.
US because there's always so many good riders. This last time was definitely difficult, but now it's starting to thin out a little bit. So like on the national team, we only have 4 riders,
Yeah.
which you know I think a couple years ago we had like 8 or 9. So
Okay.
and then but there's some rookies coming up that are killing it. So it'll still be difficult to make that team, but you know it is kind of um, thinning out a little bit, which is interesting, but it's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. Yeah, you don't have the Shaun Whites or the Danny Davises really competing
yeah,
anymore. So
yeah, no more Sean, no more Danny. But you know, there's a lot of other riders that can come out of nowhere. Like I tell some of the younger kids on the US team all the time, like never count yourself out because I look back at my first Olympics in 2022. I didn't even do my first pro event till 2019, and a lot of these
okay.
kids have done a lot of pro events already. So I'm like, you guys could come out of nowhere and like pop off. So like,
Yeah,
you never know what
if
could
it's
happen.
yeah, if it's your day and you're progressing, like you never know, the sky's the limit. But yeah, dude, that's
Yeah.
sick. So got a few questions for you, just some kind of uh little bit. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, so when you're up at the top of the pipe, what is your go-to song? You know, like, are you
Uh,
bumping headphones up there?
yeah, for sure. In general, man, I don't know. I like Green Juice a lot by ASAP Ferg.
Okay,
I
there we
definitely am
go.
like pretty hyped on rap. Some Rage Against the Machine,
There we go.
Killing in the Name.
Yeah, that'll get it going. I was listening to that
Misfits, like
yesterday writing.
yeah, yeah, some Misfits.
There you go.
Um,
Hell yeah,
yeah,
dude.
it's always
Yeah.
changing, but
Yep. You know, it's always like what you're in, like what your mood is that day, and honestly, like what the conditions are too. Like sometimes, like if I'm just out like on a pow day, I'll just be jamming like some alternative, 90s rock or something. Maybe some Blink
yeah,
182, you never know.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah,
but dude, and then so I want your three favorite riders. So we talked about Louis and Danny. If those are two of them, who'd you put in your top three?
I'd say Danny's number one for sure. Like Danny's like I could go on and on about how big of a Danny fan I am. But Danny Cass, Louis Vito, and then I'd say number three, like that's such a tough one. Like current favorite, honestly, Dusty Hendrickson. Like he lately,
Steve's
Dusty's
master.
put out so many good clips. He's killing it in contests. He's a really good dude.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Dusty, like, is one of my current favorites for sure. But no one will ever top Danny and Louis.
got it. Dude, how about okay, so what's a perfect day of riding look like for you? Is it
Um,
a sunny day? Is it a pow day? What's it look like?
Pow day, I think.
Okay.
Probably maybe a pow day in the morning, like high up pow day. Like honestly, yesterday at Locks or 2 days ago, we had like pow in the morning, like just insane up high, and then down low it was like sunnier park day. Like if you could get pow in the morning, just like full throttle free riding, and then go
Yep.
maybe get some soft slush in the park, like riding some transition, not a 22, but maybe just a mellow transition slush would be super fun in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah, like some I just love that classic Mount Hood slush in the springtime, especially
Yeah,
when all the parks are firing and you have the flow park, and sometimes even they'll have enough snow to have a little mini half pipe up there. So, but yeah, dude.
yeah,
So what's been the greatest experience in your career?
Man, honestly, I think the greatest experience that like I really got the most from and like some of the best memories I've ever had is last year in Sauce doing this project with this artist Ari Markopoulos, who he was like a total legend. Uh, well, he still is a total legend, like photographer, artist, done a lot of like crazy work with like big rappers, big artists, big companies like Supreme and Gucci, like done a lot of big campaigns for those big companies. But he really did a lot of work in snowboarding too, like with Craig Kelly and Terry Hawkinson and a
Yeah.
lot of these like OG pros, like back in the total like mech or like the golden era of snowboarding, like Trevor Andrew. Like he's the dude that like helped Trevor Andrew get it going with Gucci Ghost. I don't know if you're familiar
Dang.
with Trevor.
I
Um,
I am not, but I don't know. All this sounds just like so sick, dude.
yeah, basically Ari's a legend, and he reached out to me in the spring of 2022, and he had this project idea for this like art simulation, all revolved around a half pipe run. And like this dude's 65 years old. He hasn't been in snowboarding in 25 years probably.
Yeah.
And the last people that he was working with was Terrier and Craig Kelly. And he reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, I have this project idea." And like we didn't even really talk about the project until like a couple months into knowing each other. We were just like shooting the shit because he was like out skateboarding with or like shooting photos with Tyshawn Jones, who's one of my favorite skaters ever.
Oh,
And I was like,
dude.
"Oh my god, this guy's like the sickest." And he was the cool dude. We like connected well, and he's like, "Hey, I have this project idea. Like, you might be the right person for it. Like, we should try to make this happen." Long story short, he comes to Sauce and yeah, like the piece was literally just a half pipe run with a static image shooting up the pipe. He had my friend Jeff Urban as um the DP. I think that's the right word for it. Pretty much, he was the like producer of it,
Okay.
and
Like
it
the
was
director.
all like, yeah, the director of production, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so the piece is just a half pipe run, static, like no shifting at all. But I had like microphones all over me, so I was super mic'd up, and the whole idea was to catch sound bites from my edge on the half pipe wall, and it literally like came out insane. It's just like, drop in, shh, air, shh, and then I could go on and on about how cool the piece is, but
Dang, dude.
it that day was crazy because we had like a full private pipe for it super early in the morning at like 7 a.m.
Yeah.
And it was me and Ari, and then we had our homie Mike Dossie shooting photos, and then a few other
Oh,
riders got to tag along. I got to invite like four, no, like five or six other riders to come ride because there's extra spots for the morning shoot, and those extra riders were Sean White, Danny Cass, Louis Vito, and then our crew: Joey Okeson, Chase Josie, and Taylor Gold. Um, and I remember we shot the run, we got the project done. It was like the most magical moment ever. I rode with like all those guys, photo shoot in the morning, and then the piece debuted in Tokyo this summer, and it's like only reserved for like art shows and museums, so it'll never be
wow.
seen online. But that, sorry, long winded, but anyway, that whole experience is amazing just because like it really made me like approach snowboarding a lot different after that, where
Yeah.
I really looked at snowboard. I always looked at it as an art form, but I was like, okay, like like something so simple can be so beautiful to a lot of people, and like
Yeah.
people look at a rider turning down the mountain and just be like, wow, that is amazing. And it really is at the end of the day. And like seeing how
Oh,
Ari
yeah.
connected with the snowboard community, and just like how it changed my life as a person in general was really cool.
Yeah. And oh, man, those experiences, like I could name off some of the ones that I've had, but just like those experiences that you get to have and you're just so stoked on is amazing.
Yeah.
So,
And I
that
think yeah, go ahead.
oh no, go for it, dude.
I was just gonna say like what you said earlier about how cool it is right now in snowboarding, how like a snowboarder can like connect with the creative and really like collaborate and create something great. That was like the most prime example of like that for me, was just seeing how like how great it all clicked, and I was like, okay, this is true like teamwork and collaboration, and uh and yeah, it was like it was the coolest thing I've
Yeah,
been a
and
part of. It was cooler than the Olympics for me.
that's awesome, dude. And I don't think there's anywhere better way than to, end this episode on that note. Um, I just want to thank you again for your time. I know how busy you are with the season and in full swing, and you're out there competing. So I just want to thank you again, Lucas Foster, for
Yeah,
joining
dude.
us, and appreciate it,
Of
man.
course, dude. Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me, and always so hyped on what Mountain Vibes is doing. So I'm hyped
Yeah,
to know you
and
guys and be a part of
yeah,
it.
and we of course are hyped to have you in the family and just have you out there. And yeah, it's just dope to see what you're going to be doing in the future, dude.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks so much, dude. Appreciate it. I'm hyped.
Awesome, dude.